At EGW, we don't just supply products, we create solutions. In this episode of From the Dock, Alan and Donnie Beene share how our strategic partnerships go beyond the transaction, working hand in hand with customers to tackle their biggest challenges. From innovative solutions to tailored support, we are redefining what it means to be a true partner. Join us for a behind-the-scenes look at collaboration in action. So I know that EGW, always talks about partnership, right? We think of our customers as partners. We think of our manufacturers as partners. I'd love to hear from you. Kind of what is your thought process behind what makes a good partner?
Well, I think what makes a good partner starts with, I think we were talking earlier about trust.
Yeah.
Trust definitely makes a good partner. If you're that first one they call, you know that partnership's going the right way, no matter what happened, right? And if even you look back at like EGW and this company, it was built basically on providing a solution to a customer that didn't have the right answer for a solution.
Yeah.
So, our guys were able to go, we can do that, and found a way to get that done for them, that nobody else had done. So that's what we base our stuff on, that's what we base our business on when we move forward, so that we can do things for customers, we provide solutions for customers. I even like to look at us as a solution provider long before we're a distributor or supplier.
Yeah.
That
starts with, it sounds like listening.
Yes,
right?
absolutely.
You're listening to the end user, asking them questions, you're curious.
Yeah.
What are you dealing with? What are you seeing out in the field? What problems do you have, right? And then trying to marry that with, hey, I've got this in the tool bag, let me show it to you.
Completely. We talk about with our team, making sure you know your customer, right? And knowing your customer is, like you said, listening. You hear what their goals are, what really matters to them. Everybody has that thing that matters to them, right? And if you're able to get with a customer and understand what matters to them, then you're going to win 9 out of 10 times, and they're going to win 10 out of 10 times.
Yeah.
And that's the goal, is them winning every single time, right?
So it starts with trust. It starts with a relationship, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and you can't ever stop building on that.
Right.
Because that is something that goes on and on and on and on. And when you build that over and over and over again, then there's just no doubt you're that first call.
It's reliability.
Yep.
Now it's like, hey, look, who am I going to call whenever I get in a pinch? I'm faced with this problem. There's been a number of issues and circumstances over the years where either a supplier is in a pinch, or a customer, an end user, a utility, a contractor is needing something, and we've got our guys, bending over backwards, right?
Absolutely. It's almost like family. I know we've been in situations where our customer had a major something happen, incident or accident or something and they needed help, and they needed to make sure we would put stuff on site so that they could make sure they had everything they needed and wouldn't have to call us up and go do things. That we got things there. And those are the types of things that when you build those types of trust and you build that type of a solution for people, they want to keep coming back to you, right? And then it becomes more than just business. It becomes almost I won't call it family, but definitely close to it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. it's just a very strong relationship,
Exactly.
right?
Exactly.
You're on speed dial.
that's if you get on speed dial, you've done 90% of the work as a partner.
Yeah.
Right?
I think you just can't take for granted, that relationship's there, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's one thing that EGW has done so well over the years, is not taking for granted those relationships, because at the end of the day, people come and go.
Yep.
But an organization, hopefully remains.
Yeah.
And it's just continually having those relationships from the top down, bottom up, at every level of the organization. You want to know what's happening, boots on the ground. That gives you value whenever you have conversations with your manufacturers.
Right.
So here's how the product's being used. Hey, I saw this, product in use. There's a couple of issues. I think we can improve the design, those sorts of things. So providing that feedback to the manufacturer is valuable.
Yeah, we bring them value, we hope.
Yeah.
Because what they hire us to do is to go get their product out to the world, right? So they like us to be their expert in the field. They like us to be their ears in the field. And when we're able to provide that kind of feedback, as you were talking about a while ago, and we're able to provide that kind of, I guess you'll even call it information and data and all the stuff that goes along with that, then they're able to take that and improve solutions.
Right.
Make different solutions that make a difference for them, right? Expand into a different market. Even when we expand geographically, and work with new partners, learning those challenges and those issues and redoing it again. I think you hit on a key thing a while ago, is not being complacent.
Right.
We have to always stay ahead, number one, of our competitors, but we also have to stay ahead of the industry a little bit.
Yeah.
So that we can make sure that we keep providing for the industry. I know that it's been, one of the things that Phil's always preached to me is that he loves providing for the industry. It just makes his day that our company just really truly has a place in the industry that provides good solutions, and people like working with it, right? And it makes you feel rewarded, makes you feel full.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like the industry that we serve is a phenomenal industry. But, we're in a unique situation in where, we serve the end user, but we also serve the manufacturer.
Absolutely.
I believe that one aspect or one value that we provide our manufacturers is that we have a whole host of manufacturers that we represent. And so we can take our experience with one manufacturer, and maybe they're doing something really well out in the marketplace. Maybe they provide, certain customer service even to our own sales organization that we can share with other manufacturers. So by being a strong distributor, with one manufacturer, much less dozens of manufacturers, it just gives us more perspective.
100%.
And I believe it strengthens at the end of the day the manufacturers and the vendors that we represent.
But the one thing we have to do is make sure is like we're talking about staying ahead, right? So I know one of the things we're looking at to stay ahead is like building a product manager type model or a product specialist type model, so that those guys can go out there and be subject matter experts, right? It's really important to have subject matter experts that our customer can go, I need to talk to Daryl about that. Because Daryl knows what's going on with that. And if Daryl's on our team and we can provide that back to the manufacturer as well as the customer, then we're providing everybody the solution that we need to do. And I think that model is going to help us continue to build and continue to expand as we move into other regions, as we do other things as a company with growth. So I know that we like to provide solutions, and I know one you're really close to is the Gauge program that we really recently started up. Why don't you give us an update on that?
Yeah, I mean, so we had a large gas utility approach us. One of the key aspects of safety and of compliance that they do is they use analog gauges or digital gauges to put pressure in a line. They need to make sure that there's no leaks in that line. So the gauges are critical, to their operating procedure, right? And so what we did is we worked with a large gas utility, and we provided, well over 100 gauges and outfitted each one of their crews. But not only did we provide them the gauge, they also wanted to have those gauges calibrated. So the calibration's critical, to ensure that, look, I know for a fact that gauge has been calibrated on this date, and there's a lot of compliance that goes into that, a lot of safety that goes into that. And so we actually packaged up 3 years of calibrations with the purchase of that gauge. And then we put on top of that, we enclosed everything into a case. And so custom cutout, some cases got 2 gauges, some got 3 different, ranges of pressure. But it really provided a unique solution. And so what we do with that utility is we'll send out calibrated gauges on a quarterly basis. They return gauges back to us to calibrate. And so it's really worked seamless from the standpoint of the end user is never out of a gauge, right? And that is a critical piece of a critical instrument that they need to do their job daily.
So beyond safety, there's reliability too. Every time they step out, they're ready to roll.
Reliability, you're within compliance, which is critical these days. And then there's the tracking of it. So we've added a tracer asset management program. So we've worked with Energy WorldNet, another partner of ours, and we're actually tracking the gauges, where they're at, and also we upload documents every time those are calibrated. So you can go back in history and check and see when that gauge has been calibrated by serial number, by asset tag. So it was really a combination of manufacturer, actually a couple manufacturers with the cases, and then you've got the asset management program, and then working closely with our end user, the gas utility.
Sounds like a typical solution we would provide.
And the typical EGW solution. So
I was going to say EGW.
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, it's listening to the customer, right? And hearing what their needs are, and really putting multiple needs together. I mean, you've got the need of a gauge, you've got the need of calibration, with the gauge, and then there's the whole shipping and being without aspect that a lot of people don't think about. If you ship your unit in, what are you going to use that day? You don't have a calibrated gauge. So we've pulled all those resources together. We've had a number of people within our organization at different levels, working on that project now for Close to a year.
Excellent.
Now, I know earlier you talked about trust and the importance of trust with the partnerships that we have both from manufacturers and utilities. I'd love for you to dive a little deeper into how that trust impacts those relationships.
Well, when the customer, whether that customer is the end customer or the manufacturer, right, trusts what you're doing, then they can come to you in confidence, knowing that there's a challenge or there is a need or a want that they can have addressed by your company, right? And if you're able to the point where you're able to trust somebody to where you can be honest enough to go, that might work, that might not work, this could work, this could, and then you actually come up with a solution that could work and you out there and do it, then that trust builds even more. And once you start building that resume of trust, right, or that profile of trust, then as we talked about a while ago, being the first call, you're the first call, you're the last call. You're the call to make sure that everything went okay. And even then, you're calling them to see what you can do for them if they're in a time of need.
Yeah.
Right. And that's how you build that trust.
And we talked about it earlier. I mean, you want to share the good news, right? You always feel like, hey, we got this win, this worked out in the field. But I think it's also transparency. It's being honest with both sides of the equation and saying, look, we failed here. We need to iterate. We need to make a change, and just being open and honest. And I think that communication and the honesty piece of it is what ultimately builds the trust.
Yeah, I mean, the hardest conversation you'll ever have is telling somebody there's a challenge or a problem, right?
Yeah.
Especially when it's affected them and could affect your business.
Right.
But if you don't go talk to them about those types of things, then there's no chance that you're going to ever be in that trust zone instead of the friend zone. You're in the trust zone, right?
Yeah.
And then you got it made.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, I dealt with a call earlier today, and it was like, look, I need this particular product delivered. We've got a job site and a contractor waiting on the product to arrive. I had to call the manufacturer. There was a lot of communication back and forth. Ultimately, we were able to put 2 orders, combine them into one, ship them to one location. But I think in order to build that trust, you've got to effectively communicate, hey, look, there's been a delay, right? You don't want to tell the customer, hey, there's been a delay, but you got to,
you got to tell them.
At least they know, right?
Right.
And now, because they know, they can redirect those contractors to do something else until that product arrives.
Right. You hope that you can help their planning with that, right?
Yeah.
I know when it comes to people, we invest in our people. You've invested in your team recently, right? With a lot of training, and that is going to be important as we move forward. And I think we're also investing back in the industry by being parts of associations, by being parts of roundtables, by being parts of the community. Right. And when you're a part of the community, then those people, like you said a while ago, have a chance to grow themselves too.
Right.
The networking that we're able to do not only benefits the company, but it benefits the individual, right?
Yeah.
And the most rewarding thing I know when at my place in my career is seeing that person that's grown from this part of the business all the way to this part of the business, and maybe even with somebody else and thriving.
Yeah.
Right.
That's right.
Because
we've got a number of those guys that have gone on and left and been successful and very happy for them, right?
Exactly, because that's going to build the industry as we keep going, right? And that's what we want. We want this industry to stay strong. We want it to be, here always reliable for our customers and for the end customer. That every resident out there, we need this industry to be there for.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, I would definitely say my passion is developing people.
Yeah.
Right. And not only seeing, hey, we found somebody, they seem like the right fit. But seeing them develop in that role and then ultimately grow. And like you mentioned, we've had a number of people go on, be very successful within other organizations. That's fantastic. We've had others come in from outside organizations within the industry. Some come from contractors, now into sales. Others come from, inside sales into outside sales. So to me, I think, when you think about investing in the future, within the industry, like you mentioned, we're investing in people.
That's the future. People are the future.
Right.
There's no doubt.
Yeah. I think it's interesting, I read recently an article about all the AI.
Yeah.
And how AI is taking over, and AI is, now smarter than, humans. They can, do different things, Rubik's Cubes and chess matches and beat these chess masters and all this. But at the end of the day, it was about the emotional intelligence aspect of it, the self-awareness,
right?
The communication piece of it, thinking critically. We think critically every day. We've got our guys out in the field, working with end users, with contractors, with utilities, feeding that information back to manufacturers. And I really think that that's the value, that we provide as a distributor.
Yeah, and that's the value that we want to make sure our customers see, because if they can see that and they understand how to utilize that value too, right? Or that solution,
right?
They get what they need as well.
Yep.
So
So how does EGW stand out whenever you're thinking about the partnerships that EGW has with their customers versus maybe some other organizations with the same customers?
Well, I'd like to think we do things differently. I'd like to think we do things with better people and this, that, but if you're honest with yourself, you're aware of what's going on around you, right? There's good people in a lot of places, but have they built a structure that as a culture want to make sure we're doing the right thing, want to make sure we're doing it the right way, want to make sure that we're caring for people when we do it, serving people when we do it, right?
Right.
Those are things that I think differentiate us from a lot of companies, because we're not only just serving our customer, we're serving our people, we're serving the industry, and we want to make sure that there's a reward for those people that we're working with.
Yeah.
With that.
I was asked this question recently, what sets EGW apart? My answer was it's the energy. It's the enthusiasm, it's the excitement.
Yeah.
And it's not every day, right? I mean, everybody has bad days, everybody, has other challenges, right, in life. But at the end of the day, loving the people you work with, loving the people you serve, that's what produces the energy that I see, among our sales organization, among the inside and the outside teams.
Yep.
That gets me fired up.
Oh, you see it everywhere, just like you were talking about interested in whose lunch or what they had for lunch and what they that's just being around people and the energy that comes out, right?
Yeah.
I agree. That's a good point.
We have a lot to look forward to in 2025. I feel like the partnerships that we have strengthened over the last year, the new partners that have come on board, I'm just really looking forward to what the future brings and how we're going to continue to serve the industry.
Yeah, and I couldn't agree more. And I think being able to do it with the teammates that we were talking about and the people around us that just give us that extra energy and all, hopefully we can provide that to our customers. They'll see that and want to be a part of this.
Yeah.